Hi, everyone. I'm Brooklyn Calloway.
And I'm Angeline Harrell, and we're Next Chapter Social. So welcome.
Welcome. This is our content buckets and mind maps training. This is one of our foundational core principles where all of our social media marketing courses and trainings are all based around starting with this concept. Content buckets and mind maps we have two versions of this class. We have a long form format in social school. It's one of those 6 classes in social school. And then we have the short form, just kind of overview 30-minute training in our learning locker. All of our active social club members get access for free to all learning locker trainings that are 30 minutes or less. So let's get started with content buckets and mind maps. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Here we go. And we're just going to get started. Content buckets and mind maps. This is our end-all be-all formula. Angeline and I's end-all be-all formula for unlimited ideas for what to post. People come to us all the time and say, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. Here's the answer.
Yeah. So one thing that kind of trips people up when they just get stuck on social media takes so much time. It's really because you have to spend time formulating your content strategy. So if you already have this done, it becomes a lot easier to just create the content that you want to share.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so formula for unlimited post ideas that are all on brand. They're engaging to your ideal client, and they're unique from everyone else's content out there. How many brands out there are selling something that many other people are selling at the same time on the same channels? There's a lot of y'all. So, and us included, we're social media marketing experts, and there's a lot of us out there as well. So it's very important that you are unique, engaging, and on brand. And we'll get into all three of those concepts here in a minute, but they definitely they allow you to know what to post about when you fill your content buckets and you pair that with a mind map. Content buckets are what's coming next, so I'm going to show you what that means. Content buckets. We have something called a personal brand and a business brand. I'm going to handle talking about the personal brand. Angeline is going to go over those business brands with you. So content buckets are basically categories of information that you use over and over again. And it answers that question, what do I post about? Well, if you're a personal brand, that means you realtors, for instance, that's a really good example of a personal brand. Realtors, they're one person and they are conducting business as that person. A lot of coaches are that way as well, like social media coaches, life coaches, things like that. When it's only you behind the scenes. Personal brands need to focus on what they do for work, what it is that they do, their personal life, like things that make them them, and that are important to them. For instance, wife, mom, those kinds of things. And then passion, whatever you're passionate about. That could be yoga. For me, it's collecting old vintage, brightly colored treasures. And I'm very passionate about treasure hunting. So those are my 3 things. And if I'm a personal brand, then those are the 3 things that I kind of stick to. And then I explode those moments through a mind map. So let's go to business brands, and I'll let Angeline explain that.
Okay, so as a personal brand, it's really more about you being the brand. And we are talking about you as an individual and the business, your business and your life. This is a totally different concept. A business brand is when you are operating, maybe you still have a personal brand page, but your business brand is for your company. And it could be something like, let's say you own a plumbing company, or you're a salon owner where you have a brand name of your business, and it more than likely involves more people than you. So when you are talking about running a content strategy for your business brand, there's 3 buckets that we really want you to focus on. First, your work, because you really want to be very clear on what you do, what you offer, and how people can work with you. Okay, that's a very important part of what you do. You also want to talk about the people in your business. So most likely yourself, your story, why you started this business, the teammates that you have, their stories. You want to bring that human element to your company. Very important. And then lastly, a content strategy for a business brand is to provide value. You don't want it to feel all promotional. People won't stick around. If you provide value and entertainment and helpful tips and things people want to know, then they're going to engage with you. They're going to see value in staying in on your page, and being one of your followers and friends. If they, you have to use the lens of what's in it for me. Are people thinking, I love this channel because she shows me tips on how to curl my hair or how to unclog that pipe, right? So those are the things that you want to make sure you fill your page with, as a business brand. And if you kind of want a percentage, which I think is super helpful, value added content is about 50% of your posts. Okay. Your work is about 30%, and the people, because there's probably fewer stories to tell, you can run out of content for that. But people, the stories behind the humans, that's about 20%. So 50, 30, 20, value, work, people. Okay.
That's really, really good. And, obviously when you're a personal brand, your people, that's yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's something that is important to you, it could be the people in your life that's surrounding you, like the little kids running around or your husband.
Right. And that's more like your personal life. That's what you're sharing on your personal brand. That's your personal, and you can have some personal in your people in your business brand too, but you don't necessarily have to share your family or your vacation on a business brand, because that's really kind of blurring the lines a little bit. So you want to sort of stay in these buckets here.
Right. Okay. All right. So going back to a personal brand and linking your bucket with your mind map. So when you fill those buckets, this is what I do. I draw 3 columns and I go personal, work, and passion. What am I passionate about? Obviously, being a picker and a vintage collector. And the personal is my family and listing sports and, baseball mom and all that kind of stuff. And then my work, everything I do for my work. And this is for each of my brands, not holistically together. I do this for each brand. So if you're a multi-business owner, then you need to do this for each. So then what I do is I take those lists and I take one thing from each list and I put it in the center of this bubble. So the personal map is about creating a plethora of topics that build a connection with your audience. It builds your know, like, and trust factor. It creates and grows relationships, and it solidifies brand loyalty. I always say on this one that you want people to say, if she lived next door, we would be friends. And if someone is saying that about you, you're done. I mean, you've got to keep going, but that is a winning combination. If someone's like, oh my gosh, we would totally be friends. We're just alike. You don't care about the people that are like, what a moron, or gosh, why did she have all that old crap in her house? You don't care about those people. There's, like 50 billion people on earth or whatever. It might be 30. I don't know. But either way, it's those people that you're wanting to attract, real life relationships of people that say, if she lived next door, we would be best friends. So that's your personal map. And in my opinion, I really think that's the most important one, because relationships are your best return on your investment of time. If you're building those relationships, then sometimes it doesn't matter what you're laying down. If they're your friends, they're going to pick it up because they want to support you. So relationships and that personal one is at the top for me. The work map is, what do you do? I am guilty as charged when it comes to forgetting to say, oh, I forgot. I told you all about my Volkswagen bus, but did you know you can rent it? So you have to talk about your work and what you do and how people can support you. And obviously, during this work map, all these little bubbles that you're going to come up with are creating your authority in your industry. It's providing value for your clients. So letting them know that, this is how you do this: curl your hair or unclog your pipes, right? It's definitely building your influence within your community, and it's establishing your expertise. So you do have to talk about your work map, or talk about your work bucket, and mind map that, so you have plenty of topics to dive into on your social media. And your third one is your passion. I could talk about that all day long, right? But not everyone loves to hear about vintage toy cash registers. I understand that, but I still have to mind map it and talk about it, and then figure out little stories that it makes me think of. And we're going to tell you how to mind map here in a second. But if my passion is to be a picker, then that would be in the center, and then I'd build out from there. The passion map will build your know, like, and trust factor just as much as your personal one. It makes connections with other people that like that too, or that you're inspiring to like that, because, you could do that too. So something that isn't related to the business. This is really interesting, because I had a friend in the past that always had this big white space on her wall, and her store was full of beautiful, like, flowy, lacy treasures and candles and sparkles and just sheets and bedding, and it was very opulent. But there was this one blank wall. And I kept saying every time I came in there, you should put your logo on there, or you should, and she's like, Brooke, people's eyes need a rest. It's like, all right, well, I guess I get that. Not if you were looking at my house, I don't get that. But on your social media feed, it works. It works really well. And that passion, that's something other than what you do for a living, does two things. It gives their eye a rest from being sold to. Like she was saying, you don't always have to be a promotional, but it also is kind of like tithing at church or giving to charity or something. When you take a break on your work feed to tell them about something that doesn't make you money, you are speaking into the universe that you have enough and you're not desperate. If you're constantly selling and you're on that grind, it feels like, oh gosh, just give them $5 for all Christ's sakes or whatever. But if you're talking about your passion and you're taking a break to smell the roses, then you're letting them know that you're not desperate. And quite honestly, people can smell desperation on your breath. I heard that once at a convention, and it is so true. So giving them a break, letting their eye rest, and letting them see that you do something other than just work all the time, even if it isn't true, you should do that. So
I also think, can I add something to that passion part?
yes.
Is that it gives people another reason to connect with you. So let's say, for example, like on my personal brand page, I am a leader for a jewelry brand. I'm also a single empty nester mom. So that's kind of my personal, that I have a lot of personal. So I have a work. I am a leader with a jewelry brand. I have a single empty nester mom, and I have lots of fun things about what life is like that way. But passion, I also am really passionate about a couple things. I love Walt Disney World. I love traveling to Walt Disney World. I love helping women entrepreneurs, encouraging them. I love, all the things. So I have a few passion things that I like to talk about. The point is, somebody could find my page, or they could see a reel about, me planning another Disney World trip and think, oh, I like her vibe. I want to, pop in and see what else she has. And then now they've connected over a Walt Disney trip, because I've been on 1,000, but they've now connected that way. But now they're saying, oh, but look what other cool things that she does. I want to follow her. And who knows, that may lead to a lead or a new friend or something along the way. So that passion area is something that you don't want to just post about every 1 in 50 posts. It's something you need to talk about often, because people will connect with you over something totally different. And then it continues to build that connection.
Yeah. And something else while you were talking that made me totally dive deep on this is when you go to a networking meeting, you don't just say, hi, my name's Brooklyn. Here's my card. This is what I do. What do you do? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't need that. Bye. You don't say that. That's not a real person. And if you do, you're the people we talk about behind your back.
You're right.
Yeah, we're like, ew, avoid that person. You don't want
Yeah.
to be the person to avoid in the room. So social media, Facebook, Instagram is the room. And people will totally avoid you if you're only in that center. You've got to do the Oreo method. You have to talk about personal. Then work is okay. Yes, definitely. I mean, tell them what you do. But then the other, crust of the Oreo or whatever you call that is at the end. And so it's, you know, very important that you be a well-rounded person and not just the smarmy moron in the room
Absolutely.
that has no sense of self-awareness. And if you don't
Absolutely.
like social media, it's probably because you think that social media has to be smarmy and you can't have any sense of self-awareness. I don't know where that came from, but I think it's like Hollywood and so polished and performative and all that. It's This is just a virtual space. It's like
Yeah.
the Matrix. It's real, but it's just a parallel universe. That's it. That's all.
Yep.
This is
Yeah.
yours.
And yeah. And with, okay, so if you are a business brand, just a little bit deeper dive, like the work section, because people always say, well, I don't really understand what I need to say about work. Well, this is important for you to talk about, like social proof. So you want to show referrals, recommendations. You want to talk about how people can work with you. Do you have a sale or a special or a promotion coming up? You want to talk about your product, whatever it is that you sell, or why you are good at what you do. That is falls under your work map. Remember, that's about 30%. Your team, your people. This definitely, I love what Brooklyn says, the most human company wins. Please show your face on your business brand. There needs to be a face of the company. There needs to be the people. You could do a meet the team post where you're introducing different people and things they like. It could be something as like fun as, oh, it's football season. What's everybody's team? Which team are you? Team Baylor, team TCU. I don't know. Whatever you want to do that just kind of adds this fun thing. Like Brooklyn and I are always team dog versus team cat.
Mhm.
And it's funny how people connect with that. Like we'll do a reel of each and then we'll have people vote and we're like, okay, team dog is winning, like it's fun, but it just shows a little bit about we both have college athletes. And so it's fun that we get to talk about that and share a little bit about us as we're the team. So we have a business brand together.
Mhm.
And we also have personal brands. So we work both and we understand. Okay. The value map. This is again, all the things that you're the expert, but other people probably don't. So there's so much value in sharing with your audience, your expertise, giving them things that they can do. Because you think that, oh, if I tell them how to do it, they'll want to do it themselves and not buy from me. Well, actually, that's not really true in most cases. Most of the time, they're going to be like, oh, she made that look so easy. I still don't want to do it. I'm going to call her now because she clearly knows what she's doing. Or maybe I will try this one and it worked. And oh my gosh, I love her because she taught me this. I'm going to come back for some more. Okay. So again, building that loyalty, if they believe in you and they're getting value from what you're teaching them, when it's time to do business or they need XYZ, realtor, whatever it is that you do, they're going to call on you because you've built that trust.
Yep. So true. And if we go down here to the next one, this is how to mind map. So we kind of talked about a deeper dive on what those three buckets of information should contain and what that information is going to do for you when you post about it on your social media, or what it's going to provide to your clientele and then what they're going to do in return for that. This is actually how to mind map each of those topics within your bucket, whether it's a personal brand or a business brand. You do it the same way. So first of all, you're going to choose which topic. So you're going to take one topic from your business brand or your personal brand, any of those buckets, the work, the passion, the people, or the value, whichever. You're going to choose one topic. Then you're going to ask yourself the who, what, why, where, and how. Now, there's not always an answer to those. But when I'm trying to build my map out, I'm like, and I kind of get stuck. I'm like, I don't know. So then what I do is the, English teacher that I am, I always ask myself the who, what, where, when, why, how. I think that's it. And I just, okay, so, and then I'm like, oh, who do I do this for? Obviously this, or I just build it out, and that springboards me into more bubbles. And I
Yeah.
grow that section into multiple layers. And again, we'll show you in a minute, an example of this. And then we go out at least 3 levels. So let me show you what that looks like. 3 levels deep. What does that mean? Level 1, 2, and 3. So level 1 is just all those, it's kind of, they're categories. So let's say in the center that I am talking about, being a vintage picker, treasure hunter. So that's in the center, treasure hunter. Then I'll ask myself who. Well, I've got lots of vendors that I become friends with over the years. Um, the people in my life give me vintage treasures for presents. So that really kind of spurs on that for me. And then the what do I, those, all my collections. I mean, where do I even start? So that would really help me. And then why I collect. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but mainly competitiveness and a weird obsession. So I'd talk about that, right? Where do I collect? Just about anywhere online. I could talk about Canton for days or vintage market days, whatever. And then where, why, how do I do it? Well, oftentimes I have to drive a long ways for a $20 item that I just have to have. So you can see how I would ask myself the who, what, where, when, and how, or why, and it helps me build out those bubbles.
And ultimately your stories.
And ultimately, it goes all the way out to stories. Yes, which we do have an example that we did leave in here. It was perfect for circling back to that. So the whole point of this is to go an inch wide and a mile deep. You can't see my other hand, but it's way down here. So an inch wide and a mile deep with your topics. If I was just to say I'm a vintage picker and then write, 12 paragraphs on Instagram about that, probably people wouldn't see my amazing writing in paragraph 4 because I would have lost them in sentence 2.
Right.
So if you, and I do that, I have done that, but inch wide, mile deep, every single topic now, so because we've gotten so good at this, becomes like a huge topic for me, even though it's tiny. I've learned how, and I've trained my brain to explode that moment. So if you take your topics and you niche them down so small, you have a bazillion to post about. And so you don't have ideas. Again, unlimited ideas on what to post. So let's see here. For every bubble, we already talked about this. You would ask yourself the who, the what, the why, the how, and I would, add where as a 5th one. Here's a great example. So this is my work map. Obviously, this would be very similar to Angelin's, but social media coach. That I do that, right? That's one of my work bubbles or work topics, work subject matters in my bucket. So I put it in the center, and then here are my 4 that go off from there. Who do I help? Overwhelmed small business owners. I've niched that down to female overwhelmed small business owners, but either way, that's who I do it for. What do? I teach simple tips, tricks, techniques for marketing online. Where do I do it? I do it online and in person. So I'm again asking myself these questions. And why do I do it? Because I absolutely love teaching, and I think it's something that I'm innately good at. So I just need to stay in my wheelhouse and do that. So there's just an example of going out one level by asking myself the who, what, where, why, and how, and choosing one topic from my work bubble. Now, my personal map, okay, so it's me. Let's just talk about me because, whatever, that's the person, right? And I ask myself the who, what, where, why, how on that. Well, who am I? I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 3, and I'm an ex-school teacher, 11 years, middle school English. What do I like to do? I like to travel. Clearly, I like to eat, working on that. And I love treasure hunting. And where do I live? I live in a really old house in the rail district in Frisco, Texas, fastest growing city in America. And why am I me? Well, I don't really, that didn't really make sense to me, but I still answered the question. I love history and old things. If it doesn't have a story, then it's like, I'm not a rooms to go kind of person. You know what I mean? I can't just buy a whole room and then walk on. So that's my personal map. And again, here's my passionate map, a passion map. Treasure hunting's in the center. What? I collect collections, or I treasure hunt for my collections, I should say. Why? Because I love rescuing old stuff. I feel like they have feelings. And a little side note on there, which would be a story that would go out from there. This is trending because it just happened. There was a box that we found of ornaments that didn't make it on the tree. And I kept thinking, I'll just leave those. But I literally assign feelings to things. They all have feelings. So I was like, oh, those poor little guys, they're going to want to be on the tree. They feel left out. So eventually I took 45 minutes out of my day and put them on the tree so they wouldn't feel left out. So there's a little weird fun fact. Fridays are I deserve it day. So that's when. So Fridays, that's when I go. And then where do I go? Flea markets. And I go on adventures to barns and things like that. So again, I've answered those questions every time. Then for flea markets, I would go on and answer bubbles from there. And here's where we're niching down. Go an inch wide, but a mile deep. So we are going to niche down actually on being a wife, mom, and ex-school teacher. And here's what that looks like. So that particular bubble, right, that was on that bigger map, my personal map up here, let me show you. This one right here, we're going to explode that one with more bubbles. So if you were having this, if you had this on a little piece of paper or something, these would just be off of that one. So the teacher, I taught middle school. Or that's who, the middle schoolers, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. What did I teach? I taught English. Where did I teach? Frisco ISD, Garland ISD, Carrollton Farmers Branch. And then why? Well, again, I love to teach. So you could go further and further out. This right here would be level 2 teacher. And then those bubbles out beside would be level 3. So it says go 3 levels out. So you have your center, then you have your kind of categories that are bigger topics. Then you go out from there. And then you can keep going to 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see how this could get really big. So I do suggest an 8x4 whiteboard from Home Depot. That's what
I think it too, it helps you just sort of stay focused. So your content isn't quite so random, but it's also building on each other. So this is a really important part. Okay, let's show them how they can stay organized with all these ideas.
Yes. Okay. Would you like to talk about this one?
Oh, sure. Okay, so I love the process of mind mapping, just as we were talking about with the bubbles. But I would say out of Brooklyn and my creativity then has to have a home. Like she is totally good with a post-it note on the wall. I'm like, I need a list. Okay. So this is where we venture a little bit. We always joke about it. We're super creative in that creating process. And you may feel the same way, but you're like, then what do I do with all these ideas? So you could take a notebook and you could write each bubble in a notebook and begin then to list all of your bubbles out so that you have ideas that way. I love a good spreadsheet. Grid is a very visual thing for me. We also use Trello to stay organized. And that's a really good platform that we have found as a team that works great for us. So each Trello board, if you will, is a topic. And then we have, our ideas below, and that we can actually create posts because the idea, and then the last one, of course, going on the next slide, is putting them all on a post-it note and putting them on a wall. Like, so whatever it is that works for you creatively and helps you feel organized and inspired. Like if it's going to hurt you to put them in a notebook and put it to the side because you'll never look at it, don't do that. Put them on a wall. Whatever it is that you need to stay focused on your ideas, that's what you need to figure out your system from there.
Yep, 100%. And just to zero in on repurpose the content ideas over and over. I'm not just going to talk about being a vintage picker once and be like, okay, wad it up and throw it away. Um, you want to be able to reuse these topics because I don't just have one story about my collections. I have a bazillion stories. And so let me show you these real life examples from an actual notebook that I have where I workshop these ideas with clients and I did it for myself. So I own a venue and I went out, there's my first level, second, and then it kind of got hairy from there. But either way, it's far removed from the center bubble. And basically, Studio One is where all the photography happens. And being right now is kind of the holiday season, that room is on fire with reservations. So that's the topic that I chose to explode the moment and do another mind map just about Studio One. So when you do this, you can really go down on the topics. This
Yeah, I
one
think it's helpful just to kind of see your brainstorming process for sure.
yeah. And so Studio One, I put that in the center and I workshop that out, who, what, where, when, how, why. And Studio One, it's very simple. You walk in the back door. There's so many things to talk about with the simplicity of Studio One. The lighting is amazing. It's easy to get to. I have all the stuff already set up for you. You don't need to do anything but show up, start shooting, pictures, and then leave. It's very, very simple. So that simplicity of Studio One is the topic that I chose to make a social media post about on that particular day. And again, each one of these bubbles becomes a post-it note, and that becomes the content generator and map for all my content that month or that week or however big your bubble map is. And here's another one. I collect owls, and we went out to who, what, where, when, why, how. The meaning is the why. And owls were my school mascot. And this all led me to this little story about a good friend of mine who was our school mascot. It was a very, very funny story at a particular game and exploded that story by telling the whole story. And again, that was niching down and circling back to why I collect owls. And then finally on this one, it's a client of ours. She does Christmas lights, and we were getting prepared for this back in August, and we were doing all of hers, and she has a business brand. So we went out talking about the people, and one of those people is Cirilio, and he's been with her for 3 years. He's very hardworking, and she had a really good story about that. So that was what she posted on her social media, and it ended up getting a lot of engagement. So these mind maps really lead you to concepts and topics and stories that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to think of had you not done this exercise.